Okay, late show, early show. I don't know how to describe it. Late release, but early in the day where it is sun shining outside for us right now, which that's weird. Sam's got his coffee. I got a glass of water. I'm trying to recover from a crazy weekend, and we wanted to get a show to you guys because there's a lot going on, and we want to talk about it. Almost Agreement at gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, go to the website, almostagreement.com. Check out all the stuff we got going on there. Go to the website, almostagreement.com. Whatever, that thing too. We're on all your favorite podcast providers. Like, friend, share, follow, text to your friends. Do what you can do to support the show. We're going to keep doing shows. We're going to keep talking about stuff. Chilhowee Park is still in the news, among other fun items. So, we're going to talk about telephone poles today, which is always a fun topic. So, maybe we'll start there. Anyway, we're going to get a show going in just a minute. Buddy.
Hey.
What's the haps?
Oh, not much.
Okay. Anything new and exciting in your life?
No.
Okay. Well, then we'll get to it. Larson J is back on his tirade about telephone poles. Do you remember this conversation a few months back?
It's not ringing a bell.
Okay. So essentially, I'm down with it. Like Larson or not, however you feel about Larson, we can weigh in on that as this progresses. But the long and short of it is, there is no real structure in place for the city or county, well, for the county in this case at least, to pressure telecom companies into fixing their stuff. So KUB, to get a little bit into the weeds on this, who owns the poles is a very complicated conversation too. For the most part, most of the majority of stuff, it's a KUB pole, and then Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, all of those rent.
Those that are lines up on it.
Right. They put a line up there, and they pay rent to the landlord of the pole, which is often KUB. And I have a perfect example for anybody out here that runs around West Knoxville. If you go down Morrell right now, you'll see KUB spent the last summer and a big chunk of last year rerunning all the poles along Morrell. So all the
big metal ones,
right,
yeah.
all the poles along Morrell, these big new, super tall steel poles. But next to each one of those poles is still a wood pole that has one or two lines on it. And that's going to be Comcast, AT&T, one of them. And so, depending on the circumstances, it's ugly, I guess, it would be the complaint for me right now, is that, why do you have that pole still there? If it was my front yard, I'd be pissed off that I have two poles in my front yard when they should be on one.
Maybe rent's cheaper on the wooden one.
Right.
Well, that's fine. We'll keep the wooden one. You're not tearing it down. They're like, well, we weren't planning on it. Okay, cool. We'll just leave it there.
Well, and that's the question too. Is what's the agreement between who owns the pole and who's using the pole? As far as is it a multi-year lease that they put in place? And it's we still have 3 years left on our lease.
You can't force us to move our lines up there.
And again, I don't know what that part. I don't know the details on. But anyway, so it's but the more acute issue at play here is if you go up to, if you remember talking about, I just blanked out on the name. There's a huge development that's going in up of West Emory, just west of Clinton Highway.
Not familiar with it.
We talked about it. It's going to be what is it called? Bardstown or something like that. Something town. I think once it's all built out and it's a multi-phase whatever, once it's all built out, it's going to be 10,000 residences. So 25,000 people are going to live in this new development.
Right.
And so it's this big complicated development. But the city semi-proactively, the development's already in process too, but semi-proactively the city the county is already trying to widen Emory right there to make it more capable of handling this new level of traffic. So instead of waiting for the development to get done and then coming back and widening the road, they're doing it at the same time the development's going on.
Makes sense.
Well, one of the problems is the county crews that they have out, so KUB has already gone out and moved the poles, put the lines up. But there's still, I think it's Frontier. Don't quote me on that. It's not Comcast or AT&T. It's one of the other ones. Still has their lines on the old poles, and so KUB's come out and moved them because the new curb of Emory is 15 feet back from where the old ones were. And so the crews that are out there to build the road have gone out there and they've leveled and graded as best they could, but there's all these random poles. They're still sitting there with stuff on them. And they can't continue their roadwork project until those poles get moved. And there's no, that's what the discussion has always been, is Jay's like, we've got to figure out a way to get this stuff done, because now, since we couldn't do anything proactively and be like, hey, move the poles, well, KUB had to respond to it because of the KUB's relationship, because they're a utility and they have government contracts and stuff like that. So KUB was obliged to respond to it, but the other people who are running on KUB's poles are not obliged with that. There's no structure in place to force them to move them. And so now it's starting to cost the county money, because we have road crews that aren't working because they can't work because these poles are still in the way.
Okay.
Which my solution is super simple, is you just get the really bad bulldozer driver out there for a minute, and oops, all your customers are without the stuff. You can't put the pole back up. You've got to go ahead and move everything to where it's supposed to be. And that's that's the solution to the problem. Not the most elegant solution to the problem, but at some point, they're just stuck. And like I said, there's no obligation to these companies, and so apparently the best solution short term is that the county might start suing these companies. And I'm not sure what grounds there are at play, but the county law director basically in the meeting this last week was like, we could sue them.
Yeah, I mean, it essentially be economic harm if it's costing them money.
Yeah, and you would hope that it's one of those that the letterhead from the city law department on an official, what's the word for the mail, a certified letter from the law department would maybe get the legal team of whatever recipient of the official letter is like, okay, they're getting serious now. We need to actually get on it. Because they have to do it at their own cost. It's not like when KUB moves the pole, they don't move all the lines with them. KUB puts the pole up, puts their power lines up. And then AT&T, Comcast, Frontier, whoever, they come around behind it with their own crews and move their lines. And so that's part of the thing. Is like Frontier or whoever doesn't have the fund, the budget to do this major project, even though, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying it's easy work, but I wouldn't think it's super hard.
You're either pretty time consuming. You got to take a bucket truck out there and go pole after pole after pole.
Well, that's the question. I guess the question is the standard operating here is you put a new line up, or you move the old line, because those lines probably aren't cheap. They're probably,
all right, I'd say they would just move it
a couple dollars.
As long as there's enough slack in it,
a couple dollars a foot, and it's like, could you just take them all down, move it over, and then put them all back up? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the logistical solution is to this thing, but nonetheless, like it's a pretty fascinating little whatever. And then there's other ones, like there's one on Kingston Pike that they're finally replacing over there in the Hamburg neighborhood across from that Kroger, that it's one of the taller wood ones, but I've noticed over the last 6 months that it has started leaning pretty hard. And then I noticed earlier this week that they had one of the big steel poles laying in on the edge of one of the parking lots. Mm-hmm. So I haven't seen that they've swapped it out yet. But
I've definitely seen some sketchy ones. I've seen a couple where they replaced the pole, but somehow it's like a chunk of the old pole that's still like half attached to it.
I think that's
just
part of
hanging there.
I think that's part of this thing, is that like KUB will not touch your stuff. Like, so that's like KUB takes all their stuff off the pole. They take they won't touch your stuff, and so they'll just chop it off, chop the pole off between them. Yeah, I've seen those too, where there's like 4 foot of those poles just kind of hanging there. And so I don't know what the rule is. I mean, to me, and this is another one, this is maybe my least libertarian thing on the planet that I'll ever say out loud, is if, again, when I run for mayor, I got an additional part to my platform. There will be 0 permits for new above ground utility infrastructure under my administration. KUB is burying everything moving forward. Now, you can replace a pole if there's some issues, but if you want to run new lines, they're going underground starting today, from now on forever, until we get them all underground. Because it's cheaper, well, it's more expensive to do front end, but it's cheaper long term on both the utility, whoever it is, because they don't have to go out there and put them back up every time a storm comes through or somebody wrecks into it. It's cheaper for the community at large, because you don't have emergency services going out there and picking dead bodies up out of people's front yards when they ran into a telephone pole, because the telephone pole isn't there. there's the pros and cons of it. Other than the initial cost, all the pros for doing this are. I mean, there's a million pros, and there's only one real con, and it's expensive on the front end.
Yeah.
But I think it's ridiculous. I think that's something that should have happened decades ago. That because all this stuff gets so much easier. Like even giant road projects like the one up there on Emory, if it's buried already, to expand it because it's accessible under there, you have ways to get to. You pop the manhole cover and you go down there, and you can run new lines and expanded lines and bigger stuff really easy from point A to point B if you have access underneath already. It's super easy. Once it's in place, it's just that transition's heavy.
I wonder if they have the same kind of like transformers that you see up on top of poles that constantly pop all the time whenever there's bad storms.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know like the complete I don't know the depths of the infrastructure and how that would work underground, but I think that you still have substations and stuff like that,
right?
And I mean, I would say for the most part, you'd still have the big, the high voltage lines will still run around, but all the local distribution goes underground. And so, like at the mall there, we've got that set of high lines that runs down across the mall, goes all the way up to, I guess it goes all the way up to Bull Run, or that direction at least, somewhere up that way. Anyway, whatever, it goes wherever it goes, but then it drops into these different substations around. Those probably still sit here. Like we've got a little substation that sits over here in the neighborhood. Like I'd still think some of that goes into there. Well, actually, I don't even know what goes into there. Anyway, I don't know. I'd think we have the substation that goes from that's right, over here right behind. It's the donut shop here on North Shore and Morel.
Yeah, I guess there's
right behind there's a substation that comes off that high power grid or the high voltage grid. That's where it comes down into the standard and then distributes locally from there. I think those would still sit there. It's just from there to my house it goes underground.
Yeah.
And it would be better for everybody.
It's an expensive undertaking.
You call the 811 before you dig? I mean, I think about that a lot. Like when we did the project here and we poured that pad, and we were doing all that kind of stuff. Or actually, it was when I had to do my sewage thing because the state of Tennessee is bullshit. But whatever. We were out there digging the hole. The company I have, the plumbers are out there digging the hole for this sewage pump thing that we had to put in, and they cut the Comcast line. Like we cut a line down here. It's like, what was it? It's like it's probably some telecom something. It's like. Yeah, I don't care. They're like, we already called Comcast. They're going to come out and fix it. It's like, I don't use them. I hadn't been using them for years. They're like, yeah, but, it's kind of like a courtesy thing that we do if we cut a line doing stuff.
Right.
They want to have it fixed in the ground before we rebury it. It's like, whatever. I don't really care.
I think sometimes if you switch carriers, they'll still go through that same coaxial fiber optic cable.
Right, off the pole. Right. They'll patch in off the pole. But yeah, we've got when we switched over to AT&T, they put a new one in off the pole for the fiber and whatever. And that comes in from the front of the house anyway. It doesn't. Whatever. I have nothing. The only thing we have buried is plumbing in this neighborhood. My water and wastewater are underground.
Yeah,
and I know exactly where they are because I put the wastewater in personally, but the water one's pretty simple. There's the meter's out in the front yard and it's a straight line.
Yeah,
it's kind of weird. It goes right under my front door.
Yeah, it's kind of odd.
I mean, it makes sense for the structure of the house and the way it distributes inside the house because the staircase thing, like in this little in the little closet under the stairs or whatever is where it comes in and goes where it goes. But at the same time, it's like if there's ever an issue with the line from the house to the meter, I got to take out my freaking front door. Like I got to take out that slab that's right outside the front door to access it. I mean, short of running.
I think they can kind of like dig under it. My parents, I think they had to tie into the main sewer line as well.
Yeah,
they were able to, since you kind of go into the driveway. It wasn't a huge hole, but they were able to kind of like bore underneath.
Oh
the
yeah,
driveway.
The sewage one. They got those cool new like the ditch witches that don't even make a ditch anymore. They just drill a hole. Like because like when KB came in and put in the sewage line for our neighborhood, it's on the easement on the other side of the street. And so when I called them and said, "Hey, I got to hook up to sewage, whatever," and they're like, "Okay," it's like fucking $1,500 or something that I had to pay for them to come put a tap in for me, so that I could hook up because the state said I had to,
right.
Which is another level of why I think it's bullshit. But I digress. And so they go in across the street and dig a hole to get to the line, and then they put that tunneling machine that's like a little 4-inch tunnel. And they just put it in and shoved it under, and it went under the road. And then they dug a hole in my yard, and that's where they put the box for the actual connection.
Right.
But they dug 2 holes that were maybe like 2 feet diameter circles each. And the rest of it was this tunnel boring machine thing that they did. That's fun. Which I don't understand how they work, but it's neat. Like it's like remote control. Like you're sitting there like with the joystick, and it's like go left, go right, go down, go up.
Yeah.
And they just tell the thing where to go. And I don't understand how the physics of how that works, but that's what they do. So anyway, Larson's on this tirade about it, and I'm with it. I think it's a good one. Apparently, also
solving problems.
And then him and Kim Frazier, his new Republican primary opponent for mayor of Knox County, got into a little spat in the same meeting over the Sheriff's Office Merit Review Board or whatever, which is still, I don't know, I get it, but I don't get it. So we have this board. They're appointed persons from the community, volunteer job. And its intent is to have some sort of structure to push back against a sheriff using his power as the sheriff against his employees in the sheriff's office for political reasons. For example, we have a sheriff's race coming up. One of the candidates is a current sheriff's deputy. One is a former sheriff, Jimmy, which I think he's probably going to pull out. If he's not, he should. But anyway, that's a separate story. And then one, like, so I think so far in people in discuss, there's like 5 guys that have already talked about running for sheriff. Like 1 or 2 of them are current sheriff's deputies. One of them is a retired sheriff's deputy. And then whatever from there. And so the idea of this merit board is that, so let's say Jimmy runs again and wins. Well, these 2 guys that are current sheriff's deputies were his political opponents.
Right.
When he becomes sheriff, is he going to fire them? Well, if it is concluded that he fires them because they ran against him, then the merit board steps in and be like, no, Jimmy, you can't fire these guys.
I'm assuming that's a job that you have to be fired for cause, but don't know.
Well, right, but so basically that's the premise of this thing. And so apparently the rules on appointing somebody is they cannot have worked for the sheriff's office in 10 years. And so they're talking about changing some of the rules. Kim Frazier wants to knock it down to 5 years, and she was proposing that, and there was a kind of back and forth. And then Larson throws some shade because Kim's husband is the treasurer for one of the sheriff's deputies who is running for sheriff. And so it's like, well, at least the implication would be, and it makes sense, like as of this, how this body oversees the sheriff's office in its limited capacity that it does, or whatever. Like I don't know. It is like it's one of those like I don't know if there's any real quote corruption in this by Frazier, but at least has a little bit of a whiff of it. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know that it was advantageous for Larson to be the one to point it out, as far as the political parts of it go. But at the same time, there is a whiff here. It's like, okay, so your husband is working for a guy who's running for sheriff, and you want to change things about what's going on in the sheriff's oversight committee.
Does her husband hold an office as well?
I don't think so.
I thought I've seen his name as like a commissioner or something. I don't know.
I don't know for sure. But so I don't know. Like it's on the merits of the conversation. I don't understand it. Like it's a weird office, or it's a weird committee, or whatever you want to call it,
board.
Because every once in a while it pops up as a big deal, and it's like I don't know. Like it makes sense, I guess. Like it to me it pops into question. It's like, why do we elect a sheriff? Like, why is it a separately elected office? You know me, I want to vote for everybody. I'd like to vote for the chief of police too, but at the same time, it's like it's not really a good place for political spats being going on inside the office. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so it's like by making this by this being enacted as in state law as having to be an elected upon office, it opens the door to this whole thing that should have nothing to do with the business that they do. But I guess that being said, it's true for all of them. I'm sure, when and if it's appropriate, or I'm sure it's not beyond the pale, I guess, for a, I don't know, since we've been picking on Justin Biggs the last couple of weeks, it wouldn't be impossible that if somebody in the trustee's office or the assessor's office, for example, was talking about running for it next time it's around, that the current elected assessor's like, you can't run against, I'm not okay with you running against me, and using the power of his office against an employee of the office to try to dissuade them from doing so. So I guess to be fair, it's not necessarily unique to the sheriff's office per se. But I don't know.
You've got a review coming up. Oh, that's interesting.
Huh?
It's like, you've got a review coming up. Oh, that's interesting.
Let's sit down and talk about it. Off the record, if you put a petition in to run, I'm firing your ass. I didn't say that. You can't prove that I said that. But that's what's going to happen. Right. And so, I don't know. Who knows? It's a big shit show down there. But so I figured out another one of my platform pitches. Please, somebody send me my notes because I'll forget when I do start running. The other one in the campaigning thing, there was a really neat thing that Compass and Inside Knoxville hosted a candidate forum in a game show format this week. Did you see anything about that?
No.
Really neat. I think it's fantastic. Number 1A, so Compass had very little functionally to do with it, but they were a co-sponsor of the event. Scott was there, and he talked about it a little bit on his show, and I interrupted with the questions that he didn't answer very well to me. But he stopped counting at 120 guests, which is huge for a forum. The last couple of forums I've been to were like 7. And then I tried to put it in a fun way of how old what was the median age of the room, and he didn't really answer. He gave a weird answer because he's like, well, there's some people brought their kids. It's like, okay, well, you know what I mean by the question. And I was like, okay, well, let me ask it this way. Did you feel like you were old compared to the average person in the room? And he's like, yeah, but that's me in every room. It's like, God damn it, man, help me out here. Because to me, and honestly, I think the reality is yes, a lot of people and on average, younger people were at this forum than go to normal forums. But they did it really funny. They had a wheel of expenses, I think is what they called it. So it was a Wheel of Fortune bit that they were doing. And so I think 7 of the 10 city candidates were there, and they each got to spin the wheel. And they had to, the wheel was like policy or specific items that the city does or doesn't do or something like that. And they had to kind of give kind of off the cuff, some speech on the item that ends up on the wheel. And so it was a bunch of random stuff on the wheel. So where it was different than normal forums, because the normal forum, you have a question, everybody gets a turn to answer. Where this one, it's your turn, you spin the wheel, and you answer the question that the wheel gives you. Nobody else gets to talk about it.
Right.
So it was a little less comparative than a normal forum, but it was more engaging, and that's a huge thing. They did a Hot Ones segment where they had to eat some hot wings, and then do their door knocking spiel. So it's eat your hot wing, and now pretend like you're knocking on my door and you want to talk to me about this election coming up. And so they had to do it all in sweat face and melting hot.
Interesting.
And then Cat Bike got to throw rubber chickens at everybody. So that was the other funny one. And I think there's more to it than anyone else is leading on, but it's a 6 or half dozen argument. But so essentially the timer, Cat Bike was the official timer for the event. So you spin the wheel, you got 90 seconds to talk about whatever the wheel lands on. And so her job, so she had those stupid rubber chickens that make the squealy noise.
Right.
She had a stack of those. And so when it was getting, I think it was I don't know exactly what the format was, but at 60 seconds, she would wiggle the chicken so it would honk one time, And then at 80 seconds, she would toss one on stage to give you your 10-minute warning. And that was just how they did it. And then apparently that's, as they were going through it, she spiked Jeff Tallman in the chest of one. That was the only person she hit. Everybody else, she was kind of throwing them at their feet at the stage. It was clear that the timer was going off no matter where she put the chickens, but Tallman got one in the chest. And I think that was on purpose, but
hard to believe.
But anyway, it was a neat event. I wish I would have gone personally. I've watched a little bit. I've seen some clips from it and stuff like that. they had more personality type people run it. No offense, Scott and Jesse, like more MC style than a moderator.
Right.
Where it's just, every time, all the ones I've been to, it's been somebody from the news, whether it was Scott or Jesse being the moderator, or it was somebody from WAT or Channel 7 or Channel 10 or whatever was there doing it. And so, anyway, kudos. I hope they do this more often. I hope this works well. I hope this is something that people start demanding because I think it's fun.
Sounds like a good way to get the populace more engaged into it.
Yeah, because it's so fucking boring, a normal one. It's like, it doesn't need to be, like, one, I think, and I still think this one suffers from that. One, I think this one made it a little bit less painful, but one, like, this, because there's so little engagement, they shove them together. Instead of having a District 4 head-to-head debate forum, it's always everybody together. And it's like, well, especially now in the city, because of the way the election works, I'm in District 4. I don't care what District 5 has to say. I don't care what District 3 has to say. I might care, but I don't have any influence on that. I don't get to vote for those people.
Right.
And so maybe it's worth doing this thing where it's like maybe if we could do that same more fun, entertaining format, but on a head-to-head now, because we're in that point of the election price, like, let's just do just District 3. Let's have the two people, running for District 3, sit down in the room, and we can do the silly fun games version of it. But, get to talk about the more substantial issues, and both get to answer the questions. But maybe whoever spins the wheel gets to go first, because going first is an advantage because you get to point out. Or maybe I think, to me, if I was going to be in a debate format, I'd prefer to go second.
Right.
It's like I get to spin the wheel, whatever it lands on, you got to talk about, and then I get to respond to both what's on the wheel and what you said. And that's the format. Anything to make it more engaging, especially to younger people that want to spend a couple hours on a Wednesday night or whatever it was out doing this thing, I think it's a win for everybody. So kudos for that one. And hopefully that, I think it worked. I mean, like, I would gladly host this event at my place. I can't fit 120 people, but we could do a district only. We could do District 4 only at my place and have Tallman and DeBartlebaden square off. We'd have to max it at 50 people, but it'd still be a good. I mean, it's only one race instead of 5 races. But I would host one in a heartbeat, just for business sake, not even for my political
that's it.
dorkiness.
You could probably set it up. I don't think there's any rules against it.
I mean, I could do it. But I'd have to do all the legwork on it, and I don't have time for that kind of shit. I would and I told Scott about that. I said, Scott, if this goes well, I'd be interested in hosting one. And so I hope that he passed that along too, because Inside Knoxville just got bought by another local person who's taking over inside of Knoxville, which is it's an interesting, weird little, like, they're mostly business stuff. That's all that I've been in it a couple times, and it's essentially you put your listing, like when you start doing all your stuff to open a new business and start getting your permits and stuff like that. That's the guy that used to run it. That's kind of how he did it. He's like, hey, I see you're opening a business, and it's like, yeah. When you got some time, we'll do a profile. And they basically come and do a profile.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah, it's a cool little thing. And they basically do one article a day. That's all they do. And it's new business openings, like major stuff, but it's the business side of politics, not just politics at large. Or it's business and politics, but it's the business side of politics when they do politics coverage. So it's zoning issues, which that seamlessly brings us to our next topic of the Great Knoxville Rezoning Project had a thing this week as part of the commission meeting, which was kind of dumb. I don't know. This goes back to, like, we've talked about this so much recently. It's the public input thing, but it's not the public input thing yet. It's like this is what we're telling to the public so that you can start forming your input, and we'll be back in March for your actual input. But it's also, we're not really putting any points or pieces of our plan or what we think is the correct move yet, so it's really just kind of amorphous right now.
Here's some random possibilities. Think about them.
So the NIMBYs will come out in force for their neighborhood, be like, no, we don't need to rezone this to that. Because all they did basically was point out discrepancies between the county master plan and current zoning and the Recode Knox plan and current zoning. So it's like, like this neighborhood is currently zoned X. It does not line up with any of the things that are supposed to be part of the plan that you guys have already put forward. So it's going to be a density thing. It's going to be NIMBY-rific. It's going to be a great, it's going to be a really fun march. And it's going to be really interesting because it's going to run right into county elections. It's going to be a very interesting, fun, hot topic to be in the forefront of the news because it's a major thing that they're trying to put together in a very short period of time because they fired the consultant and they brought this new one in that just started a month and a half ago to take over for this, and it's a multi-million-dollar contract. Whatever, that's a whole separate thing. But they brought this group in to take over the consulting on it, which they're basically just going to take. They're taking the master plan that was done a couple of years ago and saying, okay, well, this is the master plan. This is how you get zoning to match the master plan that you guys already did. And that's basically what they did at this meeting was they pointed out the discrepancies between the two. And so we're not changing the master plan. We're just changing the zoning to catch up, which, I did get an email from, I blanked out on his name, with a meeting of the Yimbies with a Y.
Yeah.
Did I forward that to you?
No.
Okay, so he sent me a link to it, and I thought I couldn't remember forwarded it, but it was a meeting of Yimbies, and thank you for sharing it. But it was I can't remember. It was like a Business Insider, like a real, like a national periodical of some sort article that he'd sent, and he had gone to it personally that this article was talking about, but it's a subscription based web service, and I could only read the first 2 paragraphs before I had to pay for it.
Right.
But essentially, yeah, there's a bunch of Yimbies. All the Yimbies are developers. like it was a room full of developers, and it starts to mention that there were non-developers in the room, but this is major. This was a major consulting symposium or whatever. It's a big event that I don't know, every industry has their expo shows or whatever,
right,
where everybody gets together and talks about the newest and the greatest and the whatevers and all that kind of stuff, the trends of the industry. It was one of those type of shows for, growth and development. And so you had some politicians coming. There were some politicians from the locality of wherever the host was coming to see what the industry is asking for. And then you had obviously the developers themselves. But I don't think there were at least so far in as I got into reading the article, there was not a lot of just normies there.
Right.
Why would you pay $100 a ticket to be part of this event when you're just a homeowner in the neighborhood? Because I don't know. Again, yes, Yimbies exist, but I don't know how many of them are just normies. I think most of them are.
It's how many of you live in these areas that you're looking to develop? Right.
They have interest in.
Oh, hell no, I don't live there.
Right. But they have financial, personal stake interest in the yes in my neighborhood or yes in my backyard. And I don't know, goes back to the same argument. It's I think NIMBYs in general, and this is a very generalized statement I'm about to make, but I think NIMBYs in general are the worst. Because most NIMBYs agree with the intent of what people want to do. They just don't want it here. And so they're just selfish.
Right.
And it's I guarantee you, if you go to, I think, Oakwood Lincoln Park, the Old North Knox, the inside Sharp Ridge between Broadway and Central is Oakwood Lincoln Park. Big old neighborhood's been here. It's 2 neighborhoods, Oakwood, Lincoln Park. Been here for a long time. Comes and goes as far as it's a pretty politically active neighborhood. They get active on things and that goes on in their neighborhood. It was about a year ago or so, they, did their thing and forced a guy to not build a duplex on a property or something like that. Because he wanted to get the city to give him a little bit of a coding variance to get him so he could put a duplex or a triplex on this one property that he had over on right near Sharp Ridge or something like that. And, it's but this same community, when asked, is, yes, we need more density in the city of Knoxville. We need more housing available for people. It's important. And then anytime anything comes into there that is not exactly to current code, they're like, nope, can't have that. And it's well, you can't say you're talking out of both sides of your mouth here. You can't do that. You've got to pick one. It's fine if you want to be a no, then be a no for everybody. Just don't be a no for yourself and nobody else, because then it's well, we need a new mental health hospital. Okay, cool. Where are we going to put it?
Well, not in my neighborhood.
Not here. Over there's a better space for it. I'll give you 1,000 reasons why over there's perfect. Well, we already chose this one and we like this one. It goes back. That brings us back to Chilhowee Park. It's the same thing. It's we didn't care about this at all until all of a sudden something was happening. Nobody's been advocating for anything at Chilhowee Park.
There's an article, I think, earlier this week that talked about they adjusted part of it. I didn't quite see the differences, but
I mean, most of it is they
changed the plan, maybe kind of guaranteed more public access.
Right, more public access. They doubled the. They went from 20 to 40 years on the required.
That's right. Before they could sell it or something like that.
Right, 20 to 40 years before they could sell it or make any zoning or structural changes to the property as planned. Cities still get the right of first refusal, which it's just like, I mean, how clear is it that the administration isn't listening? Because the number one, like, it's not like what we talked about last week. It's like the city and Emerald Youth Foundation just feel like if they say it louder and slower, that people are going to understand it and get on board. It's like, no, everybody understands what you're trying to do. They don't want it, period.
Right.
So let's change it a little bit to make it closer to what you're asking for because we're listening. No, you're not. We don't want it, period. But what if we do it, and we're going to do it this way, and we're going to make it more restrictive and change this and that and the other? No. And so it'll be interesting. And again, what's most fascinating about to me is Gwen McKenzie is a yes. She will vote yes for this week in City Council when it comes up. That's her district. And according to her, when she goes and knocks on doors, people have no idea what she's talking about, so she has to explain the whole story to them, which is crazy. Which is a fun little... maybe let's back that up. It's not crazy. It's just a fun little thing. Like, you and I are like, this is a huge deal. Everybody's excited about it. It's like, no, it's really like 200 people. But the people that live in the neighborhood, according to Gwen, for the most part, they're like, yeah, I'm cool with that. That's pretty nice. I like that. I'm excited about that. Now, there's questions. How is Gwen presenting it? Because obviously Gwen's been on board with this from the beginning. Is she like, hey, we're like, we're going to take that thing that's been locked up all the time, and Emerald Youth's going to come in and put some fields in there and stuff like that. Right. And when they don't have anything specific going on, we can go play.
You know that ugly fenced-off area? Well, we're going to put a really nice state-of-the-art AstroTurf field that, everyone can come and play on.
Right. When they're not doing something there, we can play on it. And it's like, I mean, it's not untrue. It's just that's a very, is she presenting the side where, some of the people are saying that they would rather have the city just not and build a regular park there?
Right.
Is she giving that option when she's going to doors and knocking on it? But still, one of the things that's semi-normal in both county commission and city council is like a lot of the other councilors will defer to whose district it is. So, something's going on in District 4, and this is what Lauren says that District 4 is, she's been talking to her constituents in District 4. This is what they want to do. Well, if Lauren wants to do it, and Lauren says that the neighborhood wants to do it, then we're on board with it, even if I'm in Roberto in District 2.
Right.
Because, I'm Roberto. I don't have time to deal with, I have my own constituents. In District 2, I don't spend a lot of time in District 4. So if the District 4 person's saying that their constituents want it, then who am I to tell their
presumably no more.
And so Gwen is going to be a yes. I think Seema and Amelia are absolute no's. What did we figure it out? We talked about this. I forgot. There's three. There's two hard no's. One probably no. Debbie Helsley is the other probably no. And from my understanding of it, Debbie's more upset about the process and the failure of communication from the administration than she is about the specific of the program. It's more about, like, you did this poorly, and we need to back up and start over because you screwed this up.
Right.
But either way, so she's on the no side. So that's 3 no's, and I think it's Gwen and Tommy are the yeses. And so then we have 4 more that are in the breeze. 3 of those have to go to yeses for the yeses to win. Only 2 of those have to go to no for it to get killed. And hopefully they don't delay it, because I'd like to put this conversation to bed. I think, for what it's worth, not that I'm a city resident or have any direct ties to East Knoxville, I'm a yes, personally. One, I don't necessarily agree that, like, I have questions about just in general, I have questions about, like, whose input as a city resident matters in this conversation. Like, is it really just the neighbors? Like, is that how this works? Like, well, the city wants this. Obviously, the mayor does, who was voted on by the city. The mayor wants to do this thing. I'm more or less functionally in District 2. How does District 2 as constituents feel about it? Indifference is one thing, but I would say, sure, yes, why not? But does my opinion as a resident in District 2 have less weight than one in District 6 who lives in the nearby?
Maybe slightly, but not by much.
I mean, like to me, it doesn't make any sense. Like, it should be like, this is a citywide decision. This is a citywide budget issue. This is city property. This isn't, we don't subdivide. We subdivide by districts for representation,
right,
not for value. Like, District 4 shouldn't have more input, or rephrase that, District 6 shouldn't have any less input on something that's going on in District 2 than District 2 does. Like, if you worked it the other way, I would, like, if, I don't know, like, when all this Lakeshore stuff was going on, that's the other part of the adjustment, is the city has promised to match what they spent on Lakeshore with a different park in the actual Chilhowee Park part.
That's not a park.
I know. But in the other, in the part that is remaining city property, the city has promised to invest as much as the city did in Lakeshore.
Sounds fair.
Which is very little, because most of Lakeshore was private money, but whatever. But still, the Lakeshore, like when Lakeshore was doing all its stuff, and there was all the different parts and pieces going on and what was going in there, and how they were going to adjust the actual structures that were on the property and all that kind of stuff, I would assume that a District 4 person at a public forum meeting should have the same weight. I'm like, I don't think the city should be spending that kind of money on this kind of thing. Like, if I was a resident in Old North Knox, just off Happy Holler there, and I was like, no, this is not the way the city should be spending money. My input should have been just as strong as, whoever that lives in the super mansion right there next to. I would think, just functionally.
Yeah. And
so that's one of the things that I'm failing to phrase this out right. Like, I do get the idea that of, like, if the district rep is on board with this, that might influence my decision as a different district rep. But at the same time, if Gwen says yes, but everybody in District 4 is telling Lauren Ryder no, she needs to vote no, because that's what her district is telling her. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, yes, it's Gwen's district. Yes, it makes more sense that she has more direct involvement in the community that's going to be directly affected like this. But my district and my constituents don't like the tax spend, or don't like the selling public property thing, which is a weird one to complain about to me anyway. But, we don't think, District 4 constituents have issues with the price tag on this sale of public property.
A little less than $1 million.
I'm going to do it.
A little less than $1 million?
Yeah, and like 900 something. Which, again, from sources that I've talked to, say it's not really worth that much.
I thought we talked about it, and it should be worth a lot more than that.
I mean, I think that was my initial thought on it, but doing some digging is there's a couple of issues. Well, number 1A is that it is zoned open space. And so there's only a short list of things you can do in open space.
Right.
And so restricting the use of the property can affect the bottom line of the pricing significantly.
What can you do with open space?
Essentially exactly what Emerald's doing. Most of it has to be, like, I don't know what the details, like the specifics are, but Westtown Mall is whatever the opposite of open space is. All of it is enclosed. All of it is paved over, so it's got to have a certain amount of green to it. The majority of it cannot be a building, or it can't be a bunch of buildings. And so it's so, I mean, and I think it restricts height. There's a height restriction in open space too on the buildings that you can't put on there. So you can't put like a 15-story, even if the building's like a small footprint, you can't put a tall building there either.
I think with Emerald being a nonprofit business or whatever, part of that's got to be pseudo commercial. But
yeah, it does. I mean, no, it is. It's 100% commercial.
Oh, okay. That's considered open space commercial.
Well, it's just what they're doing with their space. It's the specific use of the land, and so since the majority of what they're doing is like literally soccer fields, but it's soccer fields, baseball. Like I think most of it, I can't remember what the exacts of, but the new one on it, it's like all of this. Like most of the soccer fields are convertible to baseball or softball, where the infield is off the sideline. So like the soccer field is all outfield. It's a pretty neat concept, and so it's really like whatever. And so open space, meaning that my understanding of it, at least, is open space is just like you stand on the edge and you can look across. It's not, and if there's anything between you and the other side of the property, it's maybe some trees and bushes. It's not building. Well, they will have some buildings on the property. They're going to have an indoor basketball gym. They'll have bathrooms and changing rooms and stuff like that for the different outside athletics, but the majority of it will be, quote, open space. And so anyway, the point being is that by having that designation, it really kind of hampers the value because, there's, what do you, like, if you're a true developer, right? Just a straight up, like, I build housing or whatever, or even I build commercial space. What could I build commercial space wise that I could sell on the other side for a significant sum? Like you could build like a tiny strip mall, and then the back of the strip mall had like, I don't know, maybe a paintball course or putt-putt. Like, I don't know if that would count. Like putt-putt or like batting cages or something, like if it's just truly like the most commercial of commercials.
Yeah.
The best I think you could do would have to be some sort of outdoor entertainment kind of stuff. Could be an amphitheater, maybe, like you could do an outdoor venue, maybe. But as a developer, that's a hard gig. As far as like, I'm going to spend $1 million on a piece of property, rework it into an amphitheater, like Hi-Fi buys.
Right.
I think that would technically fall under open space. I don't know exactly. I'd have to ask somebody that knows codes better than me. But,
that you're only getting presumable business 2 or 3 seasons out of the year.
Right. And like how much of it's really paying the bills kind of stuff. Like, and again, I don't know Hi-Fi buys being a question as a venue in and of itself. It's its own company, and then the promoters come to them and they pay rent for the night of their event or the 2 nights of their event or whatever like that. So like you're looking at, if it's $1 million piece of land and a couple $1 million to get it built up into its thing, you got a $5 million mortgage or so that you're paying off. Your annual rent needs to be, probably a couple $1 million a year minimum that you're bringing in revenue just to pay off that mortgage. So how many events would you have to book regularly at an amphitheater that are selling enough tickets that the promoters want to do events and stuff like that to get it to go? And so it's that point of all that being is, yeah, it's probably like $1 million is actually probably a lot for that piece of land. Now, could they rezone it? Yes. Now, would that be legal? That'd be a question. If the city rezoned it to like grade A, R1, R5, the most dense version of residential or commercial, like rezoned it and sold it, would it quintuple in value? That'd be interesting. And maybe that's an argument to be had. Be like, hey, rezone it to like super dense residential and sell it to this guy over here and have him build a giant apartment complex on it. But then the city gets $5-8 million out of it instead of $1 million. That is super interesting.
So your open space zoning is land use regulation that allows for the preservation of open areas within a development while still permitting some level of construction. This approach helps maintain natural landscapes and provides economic benefits by reducing infrastructure costs for developers and local governments.
I feel like I was accurate to that.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Maybe this is just my impatience with the conversation that says shit or get off the pot. So, hopefully the bottom line here is they don't delay it another week or 2 weeks or a month.
Yeah, I'd say they can only delay for so long.
I mean, they can do it indefinitely as long as they can get the votes for it.
Right.
I mean, I would say any of what did we say? There's 3 definite no's, 2 definite yeses, leaving 4. If I'm one of the 4 in the middle and the vote comes up to delay, obviously the 3 are going to say, no, we're not delaying, we're going to vote on it today. I don't know. Because again, none of them have an election in front of them. So part of it being, I don't know. I would think like I'm tired of talking about this or voting on this today. But at the same time, if I'm on the fence right now and I don't have to make the decision till later, I might vote let's just make the decision later.
Right.
It's not a vote for yes. It's just I don't want to go on record yet.
Maybe they kind of wait out the public input.
I mean, I think
as far as I think maybe more people will kind of forget about it, so there won't be as much of an uproar one way or the other.
Yeah, that's possible. Because I don't think there's no. I think the narrative is clear. Like the narrative is clear. Mayor's office wants this. Emerald wants this. They're ready to move on it. The Gwen McKenzie says that her neighborhood wants it. The vocal parts of the neighborhood don't want it. Like I think the narratives are clear. I don't think those are changing. Which does bring up the fun timing thing is the Rules Committee last week had a big stink, not 2 weeks ago now, was proposing their rule changes to how the meetings work, the city council meetings work, and that included the public forum portions of it, how long people are allowed to talk, kind of stuff like that. They proposed to bring it down to 3 minutes from 5 minutes and some of the different stuff like that, and it all it just feels bad because it's just a timing thing. I think every county commissioner or every city councilor is more than happy to reduce it to 3 minutes, and I think that's a fair number to be honest. 5 minutes is a lot of time to fill.
Yeah.
Hey, vote no on this, and this is why. Okay, what am I supposed to do with the next 4 minutes?
Yeah. Filibuster.
Right. Well, that's what that's what it comes down to, and that's the most frustrating thing to the city councilors, especially when it's shit that doesn't fucking matter. Because remember,
sometimes it may be a complex issue that does take a little bit of. Here's the preface to it.
But still, 5 minutes is that's a long speech for a layperson to give.
Right.
And especially, even if it's a complex issue, I'm requesting that you vote no for this. This is why. I mean, that's like I request please vote down. Item B. Here's why. I mean, I just did the intro to it in 5 seconds, and now I have another 175 seconds to explain my reasoning. Are
the rules you have to stay on topic?
They were.
Thinking back to right,
because that was that
COVID time of people just kind of coming up and just kind of going off on anything.
Well, that was the whole thing with the Israeli. They were trying to get the city to write a letter to Biden about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict thing.
Right.
And that was one of the big fights because, Kid she kicked a bunch of people out of meetings because they'd start on this ordinance to change to approve $500 in budget spending to fix that piece of sidewalk is inappropriate because the Jews are killing all the Palestinians right now, and you guys should do something about it. And she'd be like, get back on topic. And then they would start over, and then they'd wander off again and be like, you're done. And she'd kick them out. Maybe not kick them out, but at least keep them from stopping.
Stop their time.
And then some people that refused to yield their time because they were like, I still have time left. I'm allowed to speak. And it's like, not about that. You're not. Well, I'm staying up here until, and then the cops would come and drag them out because the mayor told them to. And it's like, I don't know. It's an interesting one. Like, practically, this is one of those that is not a popular take, I suppose, but like practically speaking, when it gets down to it, I would be curious if you could get any amount of current or former city councilors, county commissioners, mayors, governors, whatever, fucking state legislators, federal legislators for that matter, that when any sort of public comment thing goes down on a topic that they change their mind. To try to tell me for half a second that, even on mine, like on my personal experience, one with my ordinance change for the booze on the street thing that I did, right? So I go up there and I do my little spiel, and I've written like maybe a 2-minute speech, and I went like 15 seconds in, and I was like, guys, just do this. This is dumb. I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not a good public speaker in this format and all that kind of stuff. It's like, hey, this is important to me and my business. I think it's important for the city of Knoxville as a large.
Right.
I want to make it clear that I didn't ask for this to do this just for me. I think this is something that, every corner of the city should be able to take advantage of to help their little subset of the city get more attention to the cool things that are specific about them, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I'm here for questions if you have them. And it's like, oh, we'll ask you questions if we want to. And I was like, okay, whatever. But it's like, I very much doubt, because the only person that asked a question, at least to me, or, Kendra Brewer came up, she's the director of special events, and she talked about a little bit about stuff, and then she answered some questions asked. I don't think a single person on that body was voting the way they were going to vote any differently no matter what Kendra and I said. Like, had I said something crazy, maybe. But just the general, like, they knew if they're doing their jobs as counselors and they're reading through the agenda and seeing what it is and how it affects things and stuff like that, they've already got their mind made up. about how they're voting the night of. I really doubt, especially in the time-wasting format when people are just wasting time, that they're going to change their mind. But even if it's up there and they give an impassioned speech that makes 100% sense, and okay, even if it's okay, I haven't even considered that part of it, I'm still voting the way I voted. I don't think that happens. I don't think there's any issue where the city council is just sitting there while 15 people in a row talk about X, Y, or Z and go, well, I was going to say yes to that, but now I'm saying no. I don't think that happens.
Yeah, it's probably rare.
And I think that's one of the things in the rule change that I do agree with. But that's another one of the things. Let me clarify my statement. I think that's another one of the things. Yes, I agree. Drop it from 5 to 3 minutes. That's more than enough time for people to get their point across. They don't need to go into backstory. They don't need to go into super detail. They don't need to talk about this, that, and the other. Just, hey, this thing should or shouldn't happen. This is why. Moving on. But the other one is they're trying to push up the agenda release. And so they're making it, because I think currently the agenda comes out on Thursday for the Tuesday meeting. Or Friday. No, it comes out Friday for the Tuesday meeting. So they have all weekend to kind of get into it.
Right.
But it's all weekend. And most of these people have day jobs too.
Right.
As do all their constituents have day jobs too. And so, there's some items on this agenda that I have some questions about. And actually, maybe more importantly than forget about these people and their jobs, it's the departments in the city are day jobs. So, hey, there's an agenda item about this engineering thing that's going on. Well, I need to talk to some people in engineering to help me understand what's going on with this.
So Monday and part of Tuesday.
Right. They're off for the weekend. And then, I have Monday and part of Tuesday, where, again, if I have my own day job as a citizen, commissioner, counselor, whatever, I have my own day job and I can't spend my whole day at my work doing my other thing. And then by the time I get out of my day job, the guys in engineering are done for the day and I don't get to talk to them about it. And so they're trying to expand the amount of time they have to get the agenda so that they can talk to people in the city, in the administration and stuff like that are asking for this. What is it you're asking for? How is this going to affect X, Y, or Z? But also then they can turn around if they have an infrastructure for it and be like, hey, constituents, this is coming up on the agenda. What's your thoughts on it before I have to go vote on it? And so I like that rule too. I think that's a fair rule. The only problem with that rule is if the agenda comes out earlier, that means the items to get on the agenda have to be done earlier and written in format,
right,
and in language so that it can be on an ordinance, which then means it's like, okay, well, the city, for the city side, I don't really care. The city meets twice a month. There's enough happening in the city where it can be, but if the county only doing monthlies, where it's like, well, I missed this agenda because the agenda is now 2 weeks before the meeting to give all this time. Well, I missed the cutoff for this agenda. There's a meeting in 1.5 weeks, but I can't get my thing even discussed about until the meeting after that. So I'm a month away from having any possible even beginnings of conversation about my thing. So there is that kind of secondary for it. Because that is one of the issues that does come up. And that's one of the issues that I've had. Like right now, for example, the tattoo shop by the West Store, he's wanting to do a little like sidewalk fair thing, get some vendors come out and set up tents and do a little thing or whatever. And I was like, cool, man, we're in 100%. When do you want to do it? He's like, I think it's October 12th. It's supposed to be not this coming weekend, but the following. I was like, yeah, let's do it. And so I call Aaron. I was like, hey, he's wanting to do this thing. I figured you guys would want to be in on it, or at least, I was like, do you want to, I was like, do we want to get, do the extended patio so we can serve out there? He's like, yeah, that'd be nice. And so this was, it had come to my attention on middle of August. And so I go and talk to the guy that runs the tattoo shop. I was like, what exactly are you planning on doing? When are you planning on doing it? And I was like, okay, cool. All right. Well, we need to get with Aaron and we need to discuss whether or not we want to do extended patio stuff for this because it's an away game. Because they were going to try to do it this coming weekend on the bye week. I was like, no, you're not doing it on the bye week. That's dumb. Do not do it on the bye week. You're not going to get anybody to show up because everybody's doing everything on the bye week. And they're like, okay, well, the other one we were thinking about was this one. It's like, okay, I like that date. It's a Sunday. Should work well. It's an away game this Saturday before. All good. Okay, let's do it. And then I'm looking at the calendar. I'm like, oh, shit. It's like August 25th. We would have to get our beer permit to the office, all the paperwork done by the 29th. so that it could be on the September calendar for the beer board, so that we can have the temporary beer permit for October.
Yeah.
Because it would be the October, because the date we were looking at would be to get us onto the October beer meeting, because the date was late enough in October that it would be in time. Had the event been the first weekend he was talking about, it would have been before the beer board meeting, or the beer board meeting would have been after, meaning we would have had to have been on the September beer board. No, August beer board in that case. It was just a big, it's just like this timing mess. It's like you've got to get, if you're going to do something that involves beer board stuff, it's got to be way out.
You think the tattoo shop would be kind of hesitant of having kind of alcohol involved in it.
I mean, it's one of those.
It's on them if they want to, tattoo someone. They can kind of test their level of impairedness, but at the same time, it would behoove someone that just got inked up to not go drink afterwards, because you got to heal up.
But it's not necessarily that they're wanting to do a bunch of tattoos that day. It's they're wanting to
get
help
the word
people
out.
Find out that they're there.
Oh, okay.
I
remember one day they had a line like damn near wrapped around the building.
Yeah, they do those little they do like $25 fishbowl pulls every once in a while.
Yeah,
it's like a cheap thing where you can get.
Here's 10 different designs. Pick one out.
No, some of them aren't even that. Some of them are. There's 10 different designs in the bowl. Pick one out. You don't get. It's a blind draw.
I didn't realize that.
But they're super cheap.
I thought they just had 10 designs. All right, pick up one of these, and it's $20 or whatever.
Yeah, they do some stuff they do different promos like that. But again, it's for them, it's just trying. Which both Aaron and I were both 100% on board, because all we care about is traffic in the building.
Right.
Whether it's traffic to our portion of the building or not, at least lets people know that we're here. People are going to stop by or drive by and see that there's something going on, and that might be the first time in 100 times they've driven by that building to even think there was anything in those buildings.
Yeah.
And so that was the whole, the whole shtick, which we're 100% on board with. I don't even know if it's happening right now, because we decided not to try to pull a beer permit, and so for our end of it, it's whatever, we don't have to do anything. Right. I was like, I'm all about another big event that I don't have to do the legwork for. Let's do it, because I usually
let me know when you're going to do it. Cool.
Because if he had talked about it earlier, I would have been on board with making that, because we were trying to do that beer event. I was trying to do that beer festival out there annually. I really wanted to do it, and I really thought I could, but I couldn't. All the local brewers are dickheads. They're not dickheads. It's just that's super season for them, because Oktoberfests and all the different beer festivals, the Big Kahuna's Wing Festival was a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
And that's a beer and wings festival. And then you have another wings festival coming up, or another beer festival major beer festival coming up. And then you get the bigger national events that some of these guys go to. If they're Zool's got a couple of events that are the gold medal national, the national beer festivals, where you go to Colorado or Chicago or one of the big city ones.
I saw a story about them buying a brewery, or kind of collaborating / buying out a Nashville brewery.
They bought. I think I cannot remember the name of it. It is Southern Grist in Nashville. They bought. It's not a collab. I think they bought in total, and so they're keeping some of the brands and the recipes. They bought some of the recipes, and so some of the. I think it's Southern Grist. Don't quote me 100% on that, but so that they're keeping the ability to brew under that title, under those brands, those particular bestsellers of theirs, to keep those.
I think they had some kind of relationship prior to, because I think the article also mentioned that the employees there would still be there, so it would still be the same faces if you were a regular there.
Right. And so then I also heard that they bought Wiseacre out of Memphis.
Really?
Or they have something going on with Wiseacre in Memphis. So we'll see. They did just do, which I'm a little upset about, they did just take on a distributor for Knox County. So one of the fun things about beer law that has changed over the last couple of years as the microbreweries became a thing is it used to be that if you were a brewery, the only way you could sell your beer was to a distributor or out your own door. So if you had a tap room or even cans, you could can, try to think of an example. Let's take, what was the one that's where Yeehaw is now? We'll take a dead one. Chilhowee, no. What was that called?
Not sure.
Elkmont.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So Elkmont Brewery, and Elkmont was probably post the law change, but for the example, it used to be Elkmont could brew their beer right there on Broadway and Central, and you could come into their tap room and drink their beer, or you could buy a 6-pack from them and take it home. Or if you wanted to go to the grocery store and get it, Elkmont had to sell it to Cherokee, for example, which is, I think, who they did. No, they were with Littman when I was there. They would sell to Littman, and then Littman would sell to Food City or Kroger or whatever, and all those complicated things that with the way the distribution works. So a couple of years back, the state changed the law on that you are allowed to self-distribute as a brewer in the state of Tennessee, anywhere in the state of Tennessee. So sticking with the Elkmont example, Elkmont could deliver to me as a bar restaurant their beers. They could deliver to my gas station that I own. They could deliver to my grocery store that I own and have a direct vendor relationship like that. Yeah. That was the update on it. And then there was a further update on that where they let you do split stuff, which they don't, which is weird because, so essentially what Zool has been doing up until recently is they were under contract with Best Brands outside of Knox County. So if you're outside of Knox County and you were a bar, restaurant, whatever, and wanted Zool products, you bought it through Best Brands. If you're inside Knox County, you bought it directly from Zool. They've recently they're still with Best Brands outside of Knox County, but they're with Eagle Distributing.
They were able to deliver it themselves, I guess.
Yeah. So like I would call one of the owners and be like, hey, what do you got this week? And they'd be like, this, and this. And I'm like, all right, give me this, this, and that. Yeah. And then they would deliver it later in the week or whatever. And so I'm a little concerned about it. I don't like it for selfish reasons, but they've taken Eagle on for their Knox County distro. And I understand their thought process on it, especially when they've taken over this Nashville brewery. When they bought Fanatic, and they're using the Fanatic brewery as almost exclusively PB&J. That's all they brew there, is what I'm told. And so they're getting capacity up, and so they're focused on trying to get capacity up and to get their brand out not only in East Tennessee but statewide and maybe nationally sooner than later with all these different things that they got going on. Their ability to self-distribute has kind of fallen by the wayside. I understand that from that perspective. The problem I have with it is Eagle doesn't give a shit about me. They don't care about me. I don't sell enough of their stuff that they care. Right. And I don't blame them for not caring. I wouldn't care about me either if I were Eagle because I'm buying...
Not a priority client.
Right. Especially at the Powell store. Like the tavern does pretty well. We sell enough Eagle products through the whole thing for the on-premise restaurant bar that we have that they're pretty decent to us down there. But like our Powell store, which we sell the shit out of Zool up there, we don't sell barely any other Eagle products up there. Like we got Ultra and Bud Light because we keep them. Right. You know, I think we have I don't even know if we have any New Belgium in there, and that's an Eagle product. If we do, we don't have many. Like it's just never been, you know, their catalog has never been high priority for what we sell there and or our customer base really cares about up there. But we had a very good relationship with Zool, and like we got first crack. Like he would send us what they had available on Monday, and we would order it on Monday, and he would deliver it on Friday. But he would hold it because we asked for it. And like for a long, like at least, like we company wide were like top 5. Maybe top 2 or 3 of Zool's wholesale customers. Right. Which I question our ability to keep that status because Eagle's not going to hold on to shit for us. They're going to sell to, they're going to, like, you know, because we're later in the week and whatever the programming is, we're going to get whatever's left over after everybody else gets a crack through the rest of the week. I mean, to the point, like, they don't even send a salesman to us. Like, we don't have a salesman that comes out and does our place because they don't care about us, which I don't blame them for not caring about us. But it's like, well, now you better start caring about us because we spent more with Zool directly in a week than we spent with Eagle in a month. So basically, you're gonna if Eagle does their job correctly, they're gonna quadruple sales with us just because they have Zool now, which is why a company like Eagle wants to pick them up.
Maybe you can preemptively kind of reach out to a salesperson.
I mean, we've done both sides. I've talked to both.
All right. What time do you get there? What time do I need to call you by?
I talked to both. I talked to ownership at Zool, and I talked to our sales reps for each of the stores and said, hey, this is a big deal for us. Don't screw this up. And Zool was like, they've asked us for a priority list, and you guys are number 1 on our priority list. Nice. And so they're supposed to
reach out to you.
They're supposed to be very active in making sure you guys get taken care of. It's like, okay, well, we will follow up and I will be in touch because we are not going to take lightly to them not taking care of us like you took care of us when it was yours. So we'll see how that goes long term. Didn't mean to go deep in the weeds of
business,
of business relations and growth and law and all that kind of crazy. But I don't know, like it's, where did I start on that? I was talking about something else.
The tattoo shop, trying to expand.
Oh, yeah. Event. And so, like, I don't know. I'd love to see it. I'd love them to do it, and I'd love to be. I'd love that. I mean, it's such a weird spot, that West Store, for us.
Or I guess changing the new laws as far as meetings and how long.
Yeah. So I'd like to see it. I don't know. I'd like to see us do more stuff. But yes, it's an interesting part of the whole mess. It's like, well, if the city wants to change some of the rules, it also may. Some of the possible negative effects is it stretches out how long it takes to get from A to C.
Right.
Like there's essentially, and maybe not. I don't know, because I'm going back to my ordinance when we had that one ordinance changes. That one was about a year in the making.
Oh, okay.
Like it was a year in process to just kind of like, okay, can we do this? Well, it's going to take a while. Okay, well, where do we start? And it was, like the meeting I got all jacked up on coffee with you was 2 months before it got passed.
Right.
And then when we get to it, it became like, man, maybe that might have been one of the reasons we got it passed when we got it passed, because it was at the point where it's like, you guys have to pass this today, or it doesn't work for the point of doing it for me.
Well, I guess those are probably more with like business owners and whatnot. I can see it being a little bit more beneficial to them, having a little bit of kind of heads up on what's going to be going on at this meeting of like, oh, okay, I have a vested interest in that. I don't want to find out on Friday. I need to make time to be there Tuesday.
Yeah, I don't know, but you got to pay attention. You got to pay attention. Like,
right.
Because I mean, that's the thing. Is like our first reading of mine, the director or president, on whatever the title is of the zoo, like showed up freaking out, and it's like, well, I don't know when it got to across your desk that you felt the need to show up, because if anything, this simplifies things for you, but whatever. But they were in a little panic of how quickly it was happening, I guess. To be fair to your point, it's like, right. But it's like, I don't know, because like,
they already had special permits or like the
right. That was their concern. They were for fucking not Wine on the Water. Wine on the Water is the one downtown. It's Feast with the Beast was one of their big events that they do booze at. And they've got a couple of different ones they do now. Which is weird. But you're in a special relationship with the city anyway, because the city owns you. But I don't know exactly where they sit in the private entity of stuff. Like they have to pull a special permit every time they do beer service. They can't just hold a beer license and do beer all the time. Like you can't go to the zoo and just get a Bud Light while you're walking around looking at the tigers and shit.
Right. It's only for events.
Right. But they have to get a special license for every event. So like 2 months beforehand, they have to go through the process. Like they can't just get a beer permit and keep it all the time. Like a normal business gets a beer permit, even if you don't choose not to use it. Like I really want to open a putt-putt course for adults. And then we went and did putt-putt yesterday for the birthday party.
Did you?
And the whole time I'm like, I really want to do this. I really want to have my own putt-putt course. Started talking to one of the guys that works there. It's like, where do you guys buy all this stuff? What do you mean? It's like, like where do you get the clubs and like just all the standard putt-putt fare that you need? Like, I mean, obviously you built that weird looking dinosaur out front. That's hand built, like that's not bought out of a catalog. That's you created these weird little, it's like multiple copyright violations you got floating around there, I'm pretty sure, because you guys just did it.
No, just kind of random animals. I don't know if it's like
they've got a what's his name, the snowman from Frozen on one thing.
Oh, really?
There's another one. There are a couple that are specific. Like I was like, I'm pretty sure that's copyright violation. Probably shouldn't say it on air. I don't want to get him in trouble. Disney's probably freaking out right now. Anyway, but just like the stuff I'm sure they have I'm sure that's stuff you can get from like golf supply places, like they have ball washers and stuff like that they have in the back. There's probably not enough. There's only a couple of like specific equipment items that you'd want to get, and mainly the putters.
I mean, those are like rubber tips, so they're almost kind of like almost like specialized putters.
That's what I'm saying. Like
they're not normal putters you would get from a golf supply, but you would think those same people that make the clubs would probably make those as well.
Right. There's probably a couple of different places that do like the specialty stuff.
Right.
That a place like that would need. And we did go-kart racing those one too. So go-karts are always a good time. But
what I'm saying, like the most expensive part would be paying someone, I guess, to come up with whole layouts and whatnot.
Right. The creation of the course is the hard part.
Yeah.
Because it's like now, especially nowadays, you can get into the what surface you're actually using. Like, I mean, that's the cheap plastic indoor outdoor green carpet that they use, but like you've got better faux turfs now if you want to make it real nice or just whatever. But that being said, mine's going to be inside, so I don't have to worry about the weather part of it. It's just make it correct. But I'd say, too, like cleanable. That'd be a hard one.
Yeah, it's going to be stuff that gets spilled
and possibly vomited on, or some other items that you want to be able to figure out.
Yeah,
that's got to be something thought about in designing.
It's like, how do we get spaghetti sauce out of green carpet?
But that being said, too, is like, there's no obligation to green. We could do all sorts of fun stuff. But I really want to. I really want to do it. But again, like I mean, the reason I brought that up is like, okay, well, my initial plan, like if I can do it in the building that I have and all that kind of thing is one thing. But if I was going to do it separately, this goes to the zoo thing we were talking about. Like, I would get a beer permit, but I don't have to serve beer all the time. It doesn't have to be the staple of the business. But I could do it where it's like, days where Knox County schools are off or something like that. We could have alcohol-free days as part of our promotional thing. It's like it's family day. We have no alcohol on family days, or we have no alcohol before 5 p.m. After 5 p.m., it opens and functions more like a bar, kind of thing. Like, you could do that. Like, it's like, and just so I didn't have to do anything special every time I want to do something special. That's how I would do it. But again, the zoo has the special relationship because they are
the zoo.
City property.
City property, right.
And so it gets weird in that sense. Because I'm sure the fair, when the fair comes in, they have to get a special permit when they come in.
Yeah.
Because you have to if you're going to do alcohol service on a city park. Now it's easier for them because they don't have that. Well, it didn't matter because they were in the special carve-out. Because they're a venue or whatever that the old ordinance had, which doesn't change anything with my change in ordinance. But I did tell you about the 17-day wait period, right? I told you about that last week that I learned. When I went in and got in a fender bender with the state car.
17-day wait period for what?
So anytime the city passes an ordinance, there's a 17-day wait period.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah. And now that the person in the office will not answer my phone calls. I've called him 3 times last week after the 17-day period was up. And just said, hey, I just had some questions about how this new ordinance will affect me and how I can do some stuff with it and what the particulars of the parameters are. Give me a call back. 3 times last week, no return call. So I'm going to have to go risk another fender bender.
Municipal workers.
I'm going to have to go risk another fender bender and hang out in the city county building again. Pay for parking again.
Maybe like change your voice. Try to sound like somebody else.
I trimmed the beard down. And I'll wear my other glasses.
I mean, as far as you just calling them and not showing up.
Well, I mean, he's still getting the same phone number. If I'm going to call me back. Or, hey, this is Bill. This is my phone number.
Give him a different phone number.
Hi, my name is John.
Right.
This is my phone number. It's not the same phone number as Bill's phone number.
Right.
Ignore that part. I mean, I don't like. I respectfully, and I use this phrase carefully. You exist to serve me. That's what you're supposed to do, and not me personally. Me, the royal me that I use all the time. Your job is to. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's the question. Is it the job of the city employees of the city of Knoxville to help me navigate the rules of the city of Knoxville, or is that my job, and it's just their job to tell me when I'm wrong?
It depends on the department.
I have problems with that. I feel like that's incorrect. I feel like it's your job. It's not your job to do the project for me.
Should have some kind of assist in it.
It's not your job to do the project for me or to fill out the paperwork correctly for me, but it's your job to fucking help.
Right. Like, hey, you need to fill out this. You need to do this.
Right. There should be somebody who has the means to say, okay, this is what you're trying to do. You need to talk to this person about this particular part. You need to talk to that person about that particular part.
Right.
And then when I go to those people, they need to be like, yes, no, maybe. Okay, well, here's some of the framework. Here's some similars that have been done to compare it to. But I mean, mine are specific fucking questions. Like, what type of restraints do I have to use? Retains. I don't know what the term is. Like, with alcohol law as it stands, if you're having a temporary patio, which you have to get a special beer permit for, there are rules. It's
kind of like fenced in, basically.
Right, but there's rules about what the fence has to be.
Right.
It has to be a certain height. Does it have to be permanent or semi-permanent? Or, like, if it's a temporary fencing, it has to be a certain height, and it has to have this so much easement for Like, because usually it's like if you're going to do an extended patio, you have to have. It doesn't give a number of easement requirements, but it gives the size of each. Like, it has to be a 48-inch easement for access, but each one of those has to be manned. Like, you can't have them open.
Right.
You have to have somebody working them if you're doing a special patio for an event. It can't be just open access that anybody can come and go with their drinks or whatever. It's your responsibility to maintain the security of the alcohol inside and outside.
And your boundaries.
But it mentions specifically like how tall and what kind of fence it can be. So like theoretically, you can't just do a rope.
Right. Exactly.
You can't put sticks up with ropes on it and say, well, that's 40. That's the 40 inches tall that's required. But yeah, you could just kind of duck under it without even trying. Or step right over it.
Use barbed wire.
Right, but I'm just saying. But there are rules about what it has to be made out of, and what like this barrier has to be. It could be removable, but it has to have a permanence in that you can't just push it over, step around it. It has to have some level of, and those are the kind of questions I want to ask. Because like to me, with that particular ordinance change, is that it's this public sidewalk can include patio space. Well. To me, I would like to have it semi-permanent. I think the way the code was written, at least the comparables when you go downtown, is it's permanent. Like those are fences built into the sidewalk at Downtown Grove Brewery, for example.
All right.
Because to me, I don't know that I want to have it up all the time. And, because I have to staff it differently, I have to do all that kind of stuff differently. But also just for, ease of movement and stuff like that. I wouldn't want to necessarily have it up during the week. But just have it up on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it's like, can I do something like, can I do that? Can it be there sometimes and not there other times? Or does it have to be there all the time? That's my first question. And if it can switch, can I do it in a way that it's like, can I do it with just standard cattle gate or bike rack as the people like to call it? It's cattle gate.
Right.
Can I do it with cattle gate where I have cattle gate and I put it up there and I'll get some locks or whatever so it locks together so you can't just move them when they're up, but then I can unlock them, break them down, and bring them out back or put them somewhere different, get them out of the way during the week when I don't want it there? Or does it have to be something where like I have to drill holes in the concrete and put ballasters, is that what they're called? Pylons.
Yeah.
Whatever, where I can put these pylons in and then I have segments that click in between them, and so it's sturdy and solid, but it's also removable quickly and easily if I want to. Like those are my questions. Like it's, and then some of it's also like when you say it has to leave 5 feet of sidewalk, is that from the curb? Is that from any utility poles or any other obstacles that are on the sidewalk currently? Because like we have a telephone pole, which I wish was buried. Go back in conversation to that one. But we have this telephone pole that's out front, which we have a light that we pay for through our KUV bill to light up our section of sidewalk.
All right.
But does that 5 foot requirement go from the side of the telephone pole or from the curb? Because the telephone pole would be in that 5 foot spot, which now makes it a 4.5 foot spot. And then there's a bike. There's an actual bike rack. It's one of those weird. It looks like the Incredibles logo. It's just a single pole with a big circle on it. Those things that lock your bikes in.
Okay, yeah.
Like we have one of those out front. Like, does that count? Am I allowed to use that portion as part of the sidewalk? And then the other fun one that I have, especially
some kind of rule blocking that. You're essentially kind of depriving the public from being able to use.
No, it would be does the line start inside that so that the public can use that, and then they have to have 5 feet before my fence can start.
Right.
And then we down there, because there are utilities underground down there, even though they're not really used anymore, I don't think. There's some KB's got some. It's weird. But if you go down to the holler, there's a whole bunch of planters only on one side of the street because that's where it is. There's these big planter boxes that are like 6 foot by 4 foot squares that are like 3 feet tall that sit on top of the sidewalk that have a tree, and then sometimes they'll come out and put some flowers in them and stuff like that, which are very nice. It's when the aesthetic is functional because the weather and the season is right. Mostly it's full of trash all the time. We have to clean them out. But they are raised planters because they couldn't plant the tree. They couldn't cut out the sidewalk and put the tree in the ground because there's utilities underneath it.
Okay.
And so it was a way for them to put some trees on the sidewalk without having to disturb. And this is some like 19 teens KUB water lines that are down there. that aren't even used anymore. All the water lines.
It's probably more expensive for them to dig them all out. They're like,
the water, the water lines that
off.
feed the building are actually underneath the street, and they're not underneath the sidewalk anymore. But those are down there, and we can't, like, the KUB owns them.
Right.
And so the city doesn't have the right to do anything with those water lines, even though they're not in use. Because it's in the easement and whatever rules are and all that kind of stuff. And so, again, these are the questions. Yes, it's a very specific set of questions because I have a very specific and unique property, but I feel like it's like I need to go hire an architect that understands code law and all that kind of stuff to the nth degree, that charges $400 an hour to spend hours researching, digging into code and stuff to tell me where I can't do stuff. It seems ridiculous to me when I should, because at the end of the day, architect or not, I do what I do. The city's going to come out and inspect it and tell me where I've run it wrong. Well, then just help me do it right.
Right.
You know, just help me do it right. That's all I want to do. You know, I'm not asking, again, I'm not asking you to draw the plan for me, but I'm asking for your help because it doesn't make sense to me that I have to hire somebody. Like, I don't know. It goes to a lot of things. This is a broader one, I guess, is that it's just like we as a society we have whole sections of industry that are built to interact with government for us because the government doesn't interact with us. I think that like 90% of accounting is that. Like if tax law was easy, we wouldn't need accountants. You might want a bookkeeper for your own records and stuff like that, but if it wasn't so damn complicated, we like I made the joke to somebody who was like, I think it was my dad. My dad was a flat tax. He was on a flat tax kick for a while, and I remember talking to him a little bit about it and not understanding certain parts of it to really argue with him. But I was like, yeah, but then we'd lose all our accountants. He's like, is that a bad thing? I was like, no. But if it was just that, if it was just simple, if tax law was simple, we wouldn't, like the whole industry that is accountants, which is a multi-billion-dollar industry, I'm sure, would cease to exist. Because that's the only reason I have an accountant is to make sure I'm following tax code. Because I can't call the IRS and be like, how does this work?
Right.
Please help me understand how to fill out my 1094B form correctly.
Yeah, I still think some corporate structures can get quite complex.
Yeah, but that's bookkeeping for internal whatevers.
Right.
It shouldn't like your tax liability is a whole different animal. It's like, okay, flat tax being, just for conversation's sake, flat tax is, there's a federal sales tax on everything. We just get rid of income tax. Income tax is the reason accountants exist. Or all the different corporate tax structures and stuff like that. But it's not like, because if it was just a flat sales tax that everybody paid 3% sales tax on everything you bought, period, full stop, no questions. I don't need a fucking accountant to figure that out for me. Even if on the other side of it, if I'm like, I don't have an account, like our accountant doesn't do the collection and stuff like that. So like, because like right now on state sales tax, I load into my computer system, this is how much state sales tax is. And then I have the hemp tax now and all the other and liquor tax for our liquor sales and stuff like that. But I put that in the computer. And then at the end of the month when I'm doing my reporting, I go to the Tennessee Department of Revenue website and I fill in the numbers out of my computer system. I don't need an accountant to do that. It's easy.
Right.
Because it's already collected. It's up front. It's right in front of me. You don't need to. It's not okay, well, how much money did you make this year? How much did you spend on this? Do you have kids? Like all those other little isms that happen. That's why, well, can we call that a business expense? Can we make this that? Can we do this here? How much money are you making total? It changes brackets, which changes your ability to do this over here. How much did you donate to charity this year? Like,
how much did you lose in gambling?
Right. All that stuff that goes into that is why accountants exist.
Yeah.
But for the internal numbers and for your company's sake of understanding this, that, and the other, employment tax is the other big one that you need an accountant for. Like that's what we pay an accountant for. Or we have a payroll company that does our payroll for us to handle all that because they withhold from your check your required amount, and then they charge us the amount that we have to match for you and all the other employees and send that in our employment. Like they send our employment taxes out.
Yeah.
Both our side of it and your side as the employee, and they take care of all that for both parties. But if you took income tax out of it, there are still some employment taxes that are in play that are percentages of income and stuff like that, which get weird. Oh, what else did I miss this week? What do you got?
Game show. Anything too crazy?
UT is trying to fire somebody who said something bad about Charlie.
Thought I saw that story like a week or two ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's an interesting there is an interesting conversation to be had, and I think one of them is a clarification more than a conversation.
I think I saw some story that was coming up. I don't know where it was, but they had a lawyer that was coming on that was kind of going to talk about your freedom of speech versus your employer's rights as you being essentially a representative of that company. And
the catch here is number 1A is if you are a professor or employee at the University of Tennessee, you are an employee of the state of Tennessee.
Right.
That's a very important distinction to make in this conversation. Because I could fire any of my employees, and I could cite that I fired them because they just said X on, like, okay, just for clarifying and simplification of conversation here, if one of my employees posted on their Facebook page says, "I'm glad that piece of shit Charlie Kirk's dead," and I was like, "I don't like that, you're fired."
Right.
There's nothing they can do about that. You have your freedom of speech has nothing to do with my business, any of the stuff like that. That doesn't apply. I have the right to do that as a private entity all day long. Not even counting Tennessee right to work law stuff. That's another level of it. But even in states that have more worker friendly laws in place, there's nothing you can do about that. There's no, like, your freedom of speech has zero to do with my business, and you have no right to freedom of speech in my business or around my business or anything like that. As an employee, 100%. Like, whether
I'm trying to remember that. I thought it might have been UT or some other state school. Tennessee State School, that there was a teacher that I guess had some comments on like gender and a part of her syllabus, but they said it wasn't a part of like the coursework. I don't know if that was UT or
I don't know. I mean, there's some Utah university that San Diego, no, not San Diego, South Dakota, who has a similar case on the Charlie Kirk thing that's going on right now. That their state Supreme Court said you've got to reinstate this guy until we go through this investigation. That's part of employee in it. But again, the difference is if you are a state employee, your freedom of speech rights are different from the state employee, from state laws, employee rules and stuff like that, because at that point it's the state restricting your free speech, not a private entity. Like it is perfect. Like, I mean, just to put an extreme version in play here, I could absolutely say that you can't say the word "the" in my bar as an employee or as a guest, and I can kick you out for that. And you can cry free speech all you want. You don't get to say the word "the" in my bar. Period. Full stop. And I'm not violating anybody's rights by doing that. It's my space. I own it. I can do what I want in it. You have no rights. You have your constitutionally protected rights do not apply here.
Whether you preemptively had that rule and posted the rule or whatever.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
Give it after the fact.
Yeah, it doesn't, like, legally speaking, it doesn't matter. You can pull a lawsuit together, and I don't want to have to pay the lawyers to defend it, but at least on the legal parameters, you have no protections.
Yeah. I'm more so on like the patron part, where your business is your business. You have the right to refuse service for any reason. Basically.
Right, it does. But just for the extremeness of the case, that's just that's the way private entities work. I could do that, and I can do that with my employees on levels like that too. I do think it's a little wonky, and I think I wouldn't necessarily do it, but like I do think it's a little wonky. I mean, I got in trouble when I worked for Lippman because I'd done a post for the shop that I shared of a Cherokee product.
Right.
And my boss was like, "You can't be doing that." I was like, "What do you mean I can't be doing that?" It's like you can't be promoting on your personal Facebook page brands that we don't carry. Okay.
Like, did I sign something that said I wouldn't?
Right. And I think what I didn't get at the time and what's implied there is like, well, it's not that you agreed or didn't agree to this. It doesn't really matter. We're not okay with you doing that, and if you're going to do that, you don't work for us.
Right.
And it's like, I remember being very turned off by that conversation, and I'm still theoretically turned off by that conversation because I think it's weird and I think it's irrelevant. Like, I'm not at any level doing anything that's going to really impact your bottom line. Come on, man. What are you talking about? But, at the same time...
It's principle of it.
Right. But at the same time, you have the right... I mean, they had the right to feel and act that way, and so I have to put up with that, and as part of the implied agreement of my employment with them. But again, like I said, the big functional difference in this conversation is you are an employee of the state, and therefore it is very explicitly the state is restricting your speech. It's not so much your employer anymore because your employer is the state,
right?
And that's where things get wonky in this one. And so there are a lot more rules and restrictions for the state's ability to do that, and that's why this one's not just as simple as you're fired. Plus, it's a tenured professor and all that kind of crap.
Sure.
But that's where they are in the process currently. Is the tenured professor they're trying to fire a tenured professor, and when they make that the plan, there's a process, regardless of what the reasoning is. There's a process that they have to go through because you're tenured,
right?
And that's where they're at right now.
They have like a big meeting of other tenured professors where I think everyone kind of gets a say or a vote in it.
Yeah, and so it's. I mean, I agree in the principal conversation of it. It's like, that's their personal opinion. Who cares? It's not part of their class. It's not part of their. It's not within the realm of their job. Because I think it works in a lot of different ways. Like if it's in the classroom and you're talking about it in the classroom, or if it's part of the assigned materials or something like that. That okay, I get it. That makes sense. You can be upset by that. I mean, on the specific this one, it's like whatever. I don't really care. I think it's a shitty thing to say about any human being.
Right.
But outside of that, it's just like, I mean, we want to get rid of you because it's your personal ethics are questionable if you're going to say that in public. That's a fair statement, especially if you're going to say that in the classroom. Then it's a much more there's more case there. Like, okay, you're bringing that into the classroom. You're making it like these kids don't have a choice. Like they have to choose to follow you on Facebook to have seen this. Maybe I don't know. Maybe that's part of that'd be another question in our particular. Like, is it obliged as a student to be following the professor on Facebook? Do they do communications for the classroom through Facebook, and they say, hey, you need to follow me so you can?
Or does their profile even identify them as working there?
Right. But again, like I said, I think the major distinction when you're seeing coverage on this that you have to keep in mind is that legally speaking, this is becoming a freedom of speech issue because it's the state punishing you for speech.
Yeah.
Where in a private industry, it is not. I am not the state. I am a business owner. My ability to punish you for your freedom of speech is completely legal. Where the state's ability is much more restricted because it is the state.
Right.
So that's an important distinction that I think people need to think about in this whole thing. Because, again, the politics of it are irrelevant legally. Should be irrelevant legally. Now, current administration and all may change that, the relevance of it legally. Because it shouldn't matter. I mean, again, I don't know. To me, and maybe that's the thing, is like if UT is smart about it, they are wording it about they're framing it as more of a personal ethics concern than they are about the specific of what was said.
Yeah.
Like, hey man, we're just not okay with you talking like that in public about anybody. That's not. We don't feel like that is a good representation of what we promote as a university.
Right.
And so maybe that's I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't give people ideas, but that's what it feels like to me is the concern.
Give them a defense.
Yeah. So, alas, that's it. I don't know. Fucking Jimmy Kimmel's back on TV.
Yeah, I saw the other two broadcast companies that dropped their.
Right, a lot of the locals were still not carrying it. But
what's that?
But a lot of the local affiliates are still not carrying it. But Kimmel is back on the show.
Well, there was one company that dropped the barring of it or whatever. But I think within the past couple days, the other two, because I guess there's three pretty much that are 99% of the
right the ABC affiliates.
Yeah,
local.
Because I think Nashville was one of the markets that wasn't back on there initially.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I think the other two companies have dropped their barring of it or whatever.
It's just so dumb. I can't get over the idea of it's like as Trump, he has made fun of how terrible the show is, and nobody watches it.
Yeah, I've seen that argument made. It's nobody watches it. Okay, well, why are you?
Then why do you care?
Yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, Kimmel made the joke, and that was his most defiant part of his monologue the day he came back. Was like, it's like, you say I got no ratings. I'm going to have good ratings today.
Yeah, I think I don't know if it set records, but it was something like.
I'm sure.
The initial show was 15 million times viewed on YouTube. And I mean, it was talked about it all my podcasts talked about it this week and pulled clips this week, and
and talked about the monologue when he came back and stuff like that. It's like you can. I don't understand how you didn't understand that as Trump at this point. Like, how do you not understand that you just made it a big deal? And one, the joke wasn't even that terrible anyway. I mean, it wasn't even about the Charlie Kirk part.
I don't think it was as bad as it was made out to be.
Well, the joke was that Trump
you're disgracing his name. It's like, he didn't really.
Yeah, you're disgracing Trump's name because the joke was the joke was that there was somebody at somebody in the White House press corps, like, asked Trump how he was holding up.
Right.
You know, your friend Charlie got killed. How are you holding up with that? And he's like, I think I'm holding up pretty okay. You see, I'm building the new ballroom.
Right.
They said it couldn't be done. I'm building the new ballroom. It's like, you don't give a shit, obviously, about this guy getting killed.
Right.
Like, that was the joke.
Right.
Is how flagrantly unaffected you are by this event. It wasn't about the joke wasn't about Charlie Kirk. The joke was about Trump, and that's what he got mad at because that's exactly what he was upset by.
That a little bit of. You could kind of interpret that he was saying that it was more of a right-wing person and not left. He was saying they're trying really hard not to.
The joke was the right trying super hard to try super hard to make it out that it wasn't one of theirs, which it wasn't. I mean, from what we at least last any update I got on it, this was an LGBTQ assassin, for lack of a better word.
Yeah. Possibly.
I mean, what little insight into any motive we have right now has that as the motive.
Right.
You know, we'll see if the public interest stays on this case long enough for the story to get like the real motive and truth behind what motivated this guy to do this.
Right.
But at least currently, and that's the question is like, so, because I mean, honestly, now that I think about it, other than the Jimmy Kimmel part of the conversation about Charlie Kirk's assassination has kind of fallen completely off.
There's definitely some mixed views on it. I've heard like some people on the right are kind of like bickering with each other about different things because there are some kind of like weird questions with, I guess, the information that has come out that has seemed kind of hard to believe some of the things.
All right. I mean, yeah, there's definitely some the logistical questions of some of the footage and images that we've gotten.
Right, and kind of like the timeline of what happened.
Right, it's like, so he's got the gun down his pants and he's limping. And then he's not limping.
He took the gun apart, but then within 30 seconds put it back together.
Right, yeah, there's some really weird isms on that kind of stuff. I don't know.
He's changed clothes 3 times.
Right, and the mugshot doesn't really look like the guy that did one of the pictures, in the best picture they have of him in motion.
I don't think I saw
There's
that.
one I saw some person talking about this. Like, that's not even the same person. It's like, I don't know. You've been on the road. You've been on the run for like 3 or 4 days, and
yeah, they got him within 2.
Whatever.
That was another thing. Like the FBI trying to take credit for it, and it was like he just didn't do shit. Like he told like his neighbor or a family friend was the only way you guys found out anything.
Right, and you release stuff when you released an image of him. His dad was like, "That's him," and his dad talked him into coming in or whatever.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. It's just
we did a great job. It's like, what the fuck did you do?
Yeah, I just wanted to be on the stage when
we answered the phone call when they called us.
I was part of it.
Yeah.
I was an important part of it.
Another thing I wonder with the whole like Kimmel thing is, I think I saw a couple places mention that like one of the biggest search things was how to cancel your Disney and Hulu subscription. I wonder how many people actually canceled theirs. Or
Jesse had a funny post. He's like, I just started season 2 of Andor. I can't give up on Disney now.
Yeah.
So that's a good series. I don't blame you, man. I don't know how.
I think so. Making jokes of that. Like they were basically trying to binge watch some series, before their subscription ran out.
Yeah. Yeah. No, who was that? That was who was that? Made that joke. It was like everybody trying to binge watch Only Murderers on Hulu so they can cancel their subscription.
Yeah, they might want to see.
Yeah. Which I love that show. It's a great show. It's a fun one.
Only Murders in the Building or something like that.
It's Martin Short and Steve Martin.
Yeah,
which
Selena Gomez
together, and Selena Gomez.
She looks weird. She looks like she's had a lot of work done or something.
She's in like we were talking about. She's had significant weight fluctuations.
I think the weight, like I see, like more on her face. I'm like, her face isn't as recognizable that what little I remember of her being on whatever.
Well, the more recently, she has lost a lot of weight between seasons 3 and 4.
Oh.
Like noticeable, and it's like whatever. I'm not trying. It's not an aesthetic thing to me. It's just it was a noticeable amount of weight, and whether that's part of because like her face got way skinny compared to what it was, and plus
she's kind of had like Botox or whatever. All the rage is now.
Well, she's got like one of the things in watching that to me is that, and I don't remember watching her on Wizards.
Yeah, that was weird
when she was a kid, but like she has a very flat affect. Like she's not super expressive, and as an actor, to be not super expressive with your facial, like with your face movements and stuff like that, is I think that's what you're talking about, and it could be, it might be a, it might be a Botox thing or something like that. I honestly don't know, but I'm just saying, like I feel like her affect as a human it seems to me more that it's just her. That's just her affect, like. And maybe that's part of this character specifically. I'm trying to remember from anything else that she's been in, other than Wizards.
I thought maybe she got into music for a minute when she was a big Disney star.
She did the Disney Youth Path.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. Like I feel like that is there's something about that I've always noticed, regardless of her fluctuations in weight, is that she's very just kind of plain faced, like you. When your best jokes are always as deadpan as possible.
Yeah.
But even when she's not joking or whatever, like it's supposed to be like a serious, like they're shocked that they found a body on the floor in front of them, but like her shocked face is very flat, like her regular face is.
So that makes me think more that it isn't a Botox thing.
It might be.
She can't make expressions.
It might be, but I'm trying to think. Well, the thing is I don't have a reference for her face being expressive.
All right.
Except maybe when she was a kid, and that's like overacting Disney youth thing,
right? Which
is probably all those kids. Yeah. And so I don't know what exactly. I get what you're saying, and it is absolutely plausible. And it's always been that, and she's just always been heavy into the Botox, and that's why she has a flat affect.
Steve Martin somehow has like looked the same for like 4 decades.
They do a there's a bit in the new season where it's Steve Martin on the Regis and Kathy show from the late 90s, early aughts, full white head of hair, you know.
Oh yeah. And when he was in The Jerk, he was white-headed.
They did a voiceover. I mean, it was a voiceover, the clip that they showed, but it was a different conversation. They changed the conversation, but they also did it where it was him watching it on a phone, so you couldn't see it close enough to actually see the mouths moving. And so they had somebody do a good Regis impersonation, redoing Regis's voice, and probably Steve doing his own voice as the younger Steve Martin. And I think a lot of it, I only think they edited like one line, because I think I'm pretty sure, because that's very Steve Martin thing to do, because the joke that they were doing on the show was that something about they're going to do something after the break, and Regis like says, "I think we're going to do this," and Steve Martin's like, "Yes, because you could predict the future or whatever." And it's like it was a very Steve Martin thing to do. So it was probably absolutely a real Steve Martin interview on Regis that they just they changed like one line in it to make it fit.
Sure, he was probably on there a few times.
Yeah, that was in the heyday. The Jerk's a great movie though. Good reference.
I haven't seen it in a long time.
They're trying to kill these cans. They're murdering the cans.
Nah, I just remember bits and pieces.
So he's working at the gas station, and whoever's trying to kill him is shooting at him from like trying to snipe him from over the hill, and keeps shooting the oil cans that are out by the gas pump that he's at. And instead of realizing that he's the one getting shot at, he's like, "They're killing the cans." Oh, that's a good movie. Old school. Oh, I think that covers a lot of the week. Anything else I missed this week?
I don't think I saw too much else local.
Tennessee lost to Georgia since last we spoke, and they beat Mississippi State. Got 2 UT games.
To overtime, I guess.
Yeah, they'd have to take Mississippi State overtime to beat them. And then Georgia goes and loses to Alabama last night.
I think I did see that.
It's a very interesting...
After Alabama had lost their first game.
It's another very interesting year in college football, as per usual. And my skills in betting are terrible, so I need to quit.
I did see a story where I guess a couple of weeks ago, I guess it might have been right after the Georgia game, where a lot of people were blaming the band for... Because some people, it took them like an hour to get into the stadium.
Is it for the band to get into the stadium?
No, for fans to get into the stadium.
Because the band was in the way?
Because I guess, I think you talked about it, they changed their route for coming in.
At home games?
Yeah.
Yeah. They did.
Apparently, like them doing that, I think they
slowed
down people getting in.
See, that's
which apparently the university or whoever kind of organizes it also didn't have the best way to kind of like corral people in per se.
Well,
where they're like, hey, you're in this section. Here's the best gate to go in.
Yeah. Well, I think that, and actually, now that you say that, I think I saw that they've changed the March to the Stadium back to the old route.
Yeah, I saw they because it was something they changed it this year, but I think you're right. I think they changed it back.
Well, no, I think they changed it just between these games. Like I think the Georgia game is when so old school was before they redid the UC, and you would go and you would march down. You would take a right there by the School of Business and go down that hill. That road is actually gone now, and it's just the footpath that goes, the footbridge that goes over Fulmer Way. And then we had to go down and around back. It was crazy. But that's how they'd been doing it recently. But then for the Georgia game, they turned at Peyton Manning Pass, which is the one that goes right there in front of the torchbearer down the hill to the stadium. And did the salute the hill right there in front of the stadium instead of over on the corner like they used to. But they still went in the same gate. But at the same time, the band freaking, I don't know. I'm not sure if they changed that or not. When we were there was when 9/11 happened. And when 9/11 happened, we went from being like an hour early to like 2 hours early.
Yeah.
And so we'd be sitting in the stadium for like an hour before because like now, or at least when I was a freshman there, we didn't even go into the stands. Like we would go and march to the stadium and then get on the edge of the field and get to our presets for pregame. But then after 9/11, we would get there, we would go up in the stands and sit for a while, and then come back down and set up for pregame. And
at a time.
Maybe they've loosened that back, and so the band is coming later, and that could make sense to why. But it's still, it was a huge game, and it was probably the biggest single crowd we've had there in a while.
Yeah, I think it was probably an amalgamation of a few different things.
Right.
Some people were blaming the band for them changing their route, which I guess cut off maybe a couple entrances for people trying to get in there initially.
Right, because that is a major entrance point down there at the Peyton Manning Pass entrance to the stadium. And since they did the salute to hill there, that cut off that road and that access for everybody to get into the stadium for the duration of the band getting by. But still, because the band goes by and goes in the one gate and goes straight onto the field, and then they lock that gate behind us, and then everybody goes in the normal gates from there. I don't know. I guess I could see that as a complaint, but I don't.
We're like, I paid good scalper money to get into this game.
Dude, I was thinking through Douglas. I'm sure. All right, let's get weird then. I have no weirds for us this week. I have no adjustments to conspiracy theories.
Okay.
Or anything like that to add.
Where was it? Oh, there we go. Got a very mean squirrel. I think I saw a couple different places that were talking about it. Seeking food has sent at least 2 people to the ER in a California city.
A very mean squirrel seeking food has hurt human beings.
Yes, in the San Francisco Bay Area, on the lookout for an aggressive squirrel that has sent at least 2 people to the emergency room for medical treatment. Let's see here. A woman that told she was walking in the neighborhood of San Rafael when a squirrel seemingly came out of nowhere and attacked her leg, clawing and biting. It clamped onto my leg. The tail was flying up here. I was like, get it off me! Get off me!
Wonderful quote.
Yeah. The squirrel launched itself from the ground to her face and wound up on her arm, leaving it bloody. I guess it was another person. Both women went to the emergency room. The TV station reported, and it's Monday's story.
Huh.
They've got flyers up warning residents the squirrel is no joke and that more than 5 people have been attacked by a quote-unquote very mean squirrel that quote-unquote comes out of nowhere.
I mean, they are squirrels.
I'm hungry.
I mean, I do believe locally, I don't know about in California, but locally, I have some reporting from the field. Max and Sam are out at camp. It's opening weekend for archery. And they said they've seen a lot of activity. And then I was thinking about this. I was talking to Jesse. I don't know how we got to talking about it with Jesse before recording his show. We were talking about the rabbit population, and his cat likes to bring carcasses in. And he's always impressed when the cat brings squirrels. They'll bring squirrels in. It's like, that's impressive. Like hunting a squirrel down versus a rabbit as a cat. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, we started talking about that. And I was like, maybe there is some correlation there. The rabbit population is definitely up. 100%. Like, anecdotally, from us walking the dog through the neighborhood, the amount of rabbits we see running around, the amount of rabbit roadkill I've seen running around this year has been significantly up. Something about this spring and winter that we had has got the rabbit population up. And I'm curious, again, with our in the field reporting from camp, as well as I was looking through the wildlife guide for this year, the bag limit is up in Royal Blue. And so I'm thinking the deer population is significantly up because of whatever this seasonal thing that just happened this year is.
I'm trying to remember what it was called, but I think the TWRA put out another notice, and it's not the chronic wasting disease, but it's some other kind of like infection that's out this year that they were warning people of.
Just as long as it's
I think it was like a bacterial. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah. Well, hopefully TWRA is getting in there and working with the processors to make sure that they can recognize it and not let it into the food supply for those of us that like to eat that stuff. Yeah, so I'm hopeful that it's going to be a good season this season because we got a population call we need to work on.
A cull to work on?
Yeah. I mean that's how they set the guidelines is like it's
I thought they're pretty standard as long as it didn't go below a certain level.
Yeah. Well, as I'm saying, that what's the fact that Sunquist is up in bag limit, it means that they need more deer called this year. They're wanting to thin the herd a little bit because it's too thick.
I wonder what drove that.
That's what I'm saying. Like I feel like
warmer weather, more breeding.
Yeah, something in the winter spring we had this year, which is what I'm assuming is why the rabbit population is up, is the same thing. There's something in the water. Maybe TVA is dumping some special chemicals.
Some chemicals.
Yeah, I got some stuff leaking into the streams from Oak Ridge that's just got them having. Because deer usually are singles. Every once in a while they'll have twins. But deer usually only have a doe. A standard year for a doe is to have a singular
foal.
Right, but I don't know how many. I don't know what the average and maybe there's more males running around, and maybe the average, I don't know of 10 doe, how many have a baby every year, and maybe that part's what's up. It's that instead of it being 5 of 10, 9 of 10 had babies this year.
More does hoeing around, or more bucks getting frisky.
Yeah, or right. There's more bucks out to get more impregnated, or there's more doe from last season that are getting impregnated, or the percentage of viable pregnancies is up. I don't know what maybe
TDOT's doing a better job of keeping them off the road,
so we got less roadkill.
Yeah,
that's part. That's literally part of what hunting is to help bring down traffic incidents.
Right. I guess I've never heard of them adding to the back limit. I figured it was probably like a general set number, unless they detect that numbers are down. And they're like, okay,
we're bringing it down, right?
Yeah,
right. Because Royal Blue Sunquist is usually just one antlered a day, and statewide is still 2 total bucks a year. Like that's always been.
Yeah.
That's or three bucks a year. So if you had a really good year at Sunquist, you could only harvest 3
males,
3 deer, because you could only do males. And now it's one. Maybe it's one for season, whatever it was. But it went from 1 buck or 1 antlered to 1 antlered and 1 doe, and so it's +1, regardless of how you slice it out. So
I kept getting emails about their raffle.
Fall breaks.
It's like last day to do the raffle.
I know. I didn't get any elk ones this year. I really want to do that's on my that's top of my bucket list is to do elk up in Royal Blue. Because one, it's probably super easy because the hunting is so light on them that they don't care.
Yeah, very possible.
I've gotten closer than I want to elk because they're massive and they have big sharp ones.
Yeah.
Like that first year, the year we went, when
we saw a bunch of tracks. I can't remember if I actually saw
one year. You and I went. We set up, and then I went walking like I like to do.
Yeah. They were super foggy when we got there.
And when I walked out, it wasn't there, and when I came back, it was. And like in the little clearing in the fog, this big old bull elk's just standing there, and they'd been doing some work. There was a bulldozer on the path because they'd been doing some clearing somewhere around there. And I'm standing there with my bow.
Yeah, I think that was bow time.
Yeah, I'm standing there with my bow, and there's this big old elk right there, which I could have hit it from there. It was not okay for me to do so, but I could have. And I'm standing there going, like, what do I do here? Because it's just standing there, and it's between me and where I'm trying to go. I was like, I'm just going to wait a minute. And it totally, I walked up on it, and it turned its head and looked at me immediately. And so I'm standing there for 30 seconds just kind of staring at it going, I don't know what to do here.
If I piss him off, he'll kill me.
Right. So I kind of back up, and I'm kind of hanging out close to this bulldozer thinking, if he gets a little upset with me and wants to come poke at me a little bit, I'm going to go climb into that bulldozer and let him beat his head against the steel of this bulldozer, not me. And so I'm standing there, 30 seconds, probably a minute, and he's just standing there, gets down and gets something to eat. Every time he, gets his head down, chews on something, pops his head up, looks around, looks at me every time he does it. But 3 or 4 times, just go down, get a mouthful, chews, looks around, looks at me. I'm like, all right, he just doesn't care. So I start I'm still standing close to the bulldozer, but then I'm getting big and making noise instead of standing quietly. And then finally he kind of gets a mouthful, looks over at me, and then just kind of trots off into the woods. It's like, all right. He could have given it, I could have probably walked up and slapped it.
Another time I was in an elk mod, gotten really close. They were, maybe 15 feet off the road.
Yeah,
I just rolled down my window. I got a couple nice pictures of it.
Yeah, me and Sam, me and AC went up in there one time, and it was deer. We were out there tromping through, finding a spot, and we end up on the opposite side of a ravine, and we're facing each other, trying to hope something comes down this ravine. And he texts me. He's like, about 50 yards behind you, big old bull elk. And I turn around in my chair and I look, and I was like, that's not 50 yards, man. And but we were set, and so I was sitting quietly, whatever. And I was like, that's fun. And then 15 seconds later, it starts walking off and bugles. And that is a very uncomfortable noise to be close to.
It doesn't really sound aggressive.
It just sounds, it's I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how to describe it. It's like a really bad trombone player that kind of squeaks through the trombone.
Yeah.
But it's
very high pitched.
Yeah, it's very high pitched for a giant animal to be making. But it's also, it's not, I agree. I wouldn't say it's an aggressive noise, but it doesn't make sense. It's just such a weird noise to be happening off of that thing.
I never heard it in person, but they're deer kind of warning calls sound pretty vicious that I would have not have thought it being a sound to come out of a deer. It's
yeah, there's squirrels.
It's something hissing at me. What the fuck?
Yeah, squirrels make some crazy noises too. They chatter there. It sounds like chattering teeth. Yeah. Anyway, all right. So that was a fun deep dive into animal noises, everybody. That constitutes as weird, right?
Yeah, it's some weird stuff.
We'll take it. All right, Daylight Show, everybody. We did it. Stayed on point. We were on topic. We talked about that one thing the entire 2 hours, right? Yeah. Right. Anyway, Almost Agreement, gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, go to the website, almostagreement.com, check out what we got going on there. More stuff, more things happening. If there's a game show forum in your neighborhood, you should go check it out. It was quite cool. I'm very upset that I didn't get to see it in person, but I did get to watch a bunch of clips in it, and all involved apparently had a good time, and hopefully the people all learned some things about the people that they're going to be voting on. So, Almost Agreement, everybody. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you guys soon. We'll be back. I don't know if we'll have a normal show. We got a couple weeks of football left for the high schooler, and that's what's been throwing some of this off. We got fall break coming up too, so there's a whole bunch of things going on. So hope everybody's having a great fall, and looking forward to the weather maybe changing. It was still super hot this week. So anyway, Almost Agreement, everybody. The rain comes. We'll do that as we deal with it. Bye.